Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the number one source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.
Hey, beautiful people, this is Freedom Fighter, and welcome to Saturday Night Dialogues. It is December the 6th, 2025. We have a jam-packed, powerful call for you tonight. The CBI, folks, the Central Bank of Iraq, just in case of you're not aware who the CBI is, the CBI governor is speaking very openly and candidly about their plans for the Iraqi dinar and for it to go international. Goldilocks shared that this week. We're going to go into depth tonight on the call and share it with you. And then also, we're going to show you a statement by the White House on what they are doing in their plans for the global and specifically for the U.S. and the banking industry, but also there will be an indirect effect on the global banking system. And then also we will, by way of Goldilocks sharing, we will share with you the global currency exchange process that is being publicly discussed as well. All right. And also, last but not least, there is an Iraqi dinar currency exchange rate agreement with the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. Remember, there are four major agencies that are responsible for overseeing the global currency reset. That is the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the U.S. Treasury, and the Bank of International Settlements. We're going to, earlier this week, Goldilocks shared the currency exchange agreement with the IMF in Iraq and the Iraqi dinar. So I know that many of you are very busy. Sometimes you don't have time to really pay attention to the daily podcasts that come out during the week, or you may not have time to read the articles that Goldilocks shares, but we're going to give it to you tonight in detail. Make sure that you pay attention very closely. Make sure that from this point forward, you do not miss any of the daily podcasts that we bring forth to you on YouTube, because Goldilocks is dropping heavy knowledge and information about the RV, heavy updates. And as we move into the new year, it's going to get even better. So prepare yourself. All right, let's get into some prayer. We're going to get into the call, and it is going to be jam-packed tonight for you, ladies and gentlemen. Father God, we always give you grace. We always give you thanks. We thank you. We glorify you. We praise you. We worship you. We thank you for guiding us, protecting us. We thank you for the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding, the wherewithal to be able to understand this investment. We thank you for introducing it to us. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you have blessed each and every one of us to have this opportunity to be a part of this, so that we can not only be a blessing to ourselves, but to others. For those many folks who aren't aware of this investment and in this opportunity, we know that the community of the revaluation of currencies is very, very small, and we are honored that you have chosen us. We thank you. We glorify you. We worship your precious name. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, folks, real quick. Goldilocks QFS Dialogues Room, as you all may be aware now, it is a read-only room. For over a year and a half, myself, Wiley, the tribe, we were there. Wiley, myself, gave you all of the tools you needed to be prepared for the RV. We gave you the tools you needed to establish your relationships with the actual bankers that can and will exchange your currency, and also to manage and grow your wealth. And we are so excited for so many of you who have taken advantage of the information that Wiley, myself, and Goldilocks have shared with you, and you are totally set and prepared for the RV. Congratulations. Now, then we have Dee's room. Dee's room is where she drops articles as well from around the globe as it pertains to the global financial banking system. Then, last but not least, then we have Goldilocks Global Banking News, where we are at almost 2.4 million views, with over 80 countries from around the world that are tuned in to Goldilocks Global Banking News. Folks, let me tell you, there are more and more people from around the world that are paying attention and following and listening to what Goldilocks has been sharing. Oftentimes, it's like a parent that if you're a parent, you know this, where you've told your child to do something and you tell them over and over and over again. Then they get older, they're like, wow, okay, mom, okay, dad, I understand what you were saying. All this time, I had a hard head. Many people are beginning to realize what Goldilocks has been sharing for the last 7 years is exactly what they needed to understand and know to be prepared for the RV. And then, of course, we're going to share with you tonight. We always have, but Goldilocks has always shared what literally coincides with what President Trump and his administration have publicly in writing stated how the RV will happen. We, every single Saturday night's call, we share that with you, but sometimes it just may take more than 5 times to understand it, but to really understand and know that, folks, this is real. And I know that I don't need to convince anybody. But when you have the greatest president that this country has ever seen to have a public statement in writing of how the RV will happen, it's very, very powerful. So we're gonna touch on that, of course, tonight, as we always do on every single Saturday night call. But I want to encourage each and every one of you, when I read this article tonight from the Trump administration about the RV, I want you to pay attention more intently now than before. I know some may have you heard it before, but I want it to sink in, because when you allow it to sink in, when you not only listen with your ears, listen with your spirit, your discernment, to understand and know, you'll be able to pay more attention to what the Trump administration, what Trump is doing as it pertains to finance. If you pay attention, you'll be able to connect it to the global currency reset. But if you are distracted by anything that doesn't really resonate with you to really understand, then you're going to miss a lot of the things that the Trump administration is doing is directly connected to the revaluation of currencies. So we're going to touch on that again tonight for you. All right. Now, our beautiful Peculiar Ram, I want to also acknowledge her and say a special prayer for her. She's not feeling well, so she won't be with us tonight. So I pray that she gets better, feels better. She's under the weather. We're going to have the sniper, Mike N., who is going to read the articles tonight. And then later on in the call, I'm going to have the sniper, Mike N., to share an amazing story. His wealth management firm invited him to a Atlanta Hawks basketball game. So for those of you that don't know who Atlanta Hawks are, professional basketball team. So this young man, his wealth management firm invited him, and he up in the suite, all fancy and everything, in the suite of at the arena, invited by his wealth management firm. It's beautiful. Sniper, I think you're here. You ready to rock and roll, my good man?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. How you feel? How you feel?
I'm good, my man. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Doing great. Let's get into this. Let's get into this, man. I know you already read these articles, and, and it's amazing. So, folks, again, I want you all to really, really pay attention. The very first article, and it's that I'm going to share, is directly from the Trump administration. And I want you to, again, not just with your ears, with every part of your being, pay attention to this. The very first two words, and it's a quote. For those of you listening to this on YouTube, this is a quote from the Trump administration from April of 2024, an article that was leaked, and the Goldilocks team was provided with this information to bring to you all. And here it is. Quote, currency revaluation is likely to be a priority for some members of the potential second Trump administration, mainly because of the viewpoint that an overvalued dollar, meaning the dollar being overinflated, contributes to the trade deficit. End quote. I'm going to read it again. Listen, please, within everything in you. Quote, currency revaluation. In other words, folks, this is the RV that the Trump administration is talking about. Currency revaluation is likely to be a priority for some members of a potential second Trump administration, mainly because of the viewpoint that an overvalued dollar contributes to the trade deficit. End quote. This was April 2024. The date was April the 15th, 2024. The election wasn't until November of 2024. Folks, this is all planned. The revaluation of currencies is a planned global event. If you have any doubts, any inkling of a doubt, any reservations, anything within you that causes you to question if this is even real, yet you believe and follow the Trump administration, you should be able to follow exactly what the Trump administration is telling you. Currency revaluation is a priority of the Trump administration. It's a priority of his second administration. He's now in his second administration. And it continues by stating the weakening the dollar could have a far-reaching consequences. You're going to see here tonight, as always, where everything that Goldilocks has been sharing is related to trade. So here we have the trade deficit. For the last 6 to 7 years, Goldilocks has always said the currency revaluation will happen on the water through trade. And that's exactly what the Trump administration is saying, how the RV will occur. And then the Trump administration speaks of the weakening of the dollar and how the weakening of the dollar is necessary in order for the currencies from around the world to get stronger. So the dinar and the dong and every currency that you hold, those currencies will become stronger as the dollar gets weaker. So then this week, Goldilocks shared something about the weakening of the dollar. So think of the weakening of think of cause and effect. Cause is the weakening of the dollar. Effect is the revaluation of currencies. Cause is the weakening of the dollar. The effect is currencies from around the world that will get stronger because the U.S. dollar is getting weaker. Why is the U.S. dollar getting weaker? Because many countries are they're halting from using the U.S. dollar in their global trade. The U.S. dollar has been the dominant currency around the world. And as it is now getting weaker, countries have no other choice but to rely on their own currencies in trade. Their currencies will replace the strength of the dollar. Therefore, their currencies will get stronger. That's how, ladies and gentlemen, the currency revaluation occurs. We go to the bank, you obtain your wealth. So speaking of the weakening of the dollar, and that's directly from the Trump administration. Yes, I know this is not what you're hearing all over DINAR land, but that's okay. Just because you're only hearing it here doesn't mean that it's not accurate. It's in black and white from the Trump administration. We are the only ones that have shared this information with you directly from the Trump administration about the RV. We're the only ones that have shown it to you in writing. And we're the only ones who have hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of members now who have contracts with their bankers to exchange their currency and manage their wealth. All because we know we're the only ones that have given you the information directly from the Trump administration and the accurate information for you to prepare yourselves at the banks. So speaking of weakening of the dollar, Sniper, if you can now take the mic and speaking of weakening of the dollar from the Trump administration, if you can share what Goldilocks posted this week about the weakening of the dollar. Remember, folks, weakening, when you think of weakening of the dollar, think of the RV. When you think of weakening of the dollar, think of your dinars and your Vietnamese dongs and other currencies getting stronger. In order for the RV to happen, in order for the dong, the dinar, the bolivar, whatever currency that you hold, in order for it to get stronger in its rate, and for you to go to the bank and exchange for a higher rate and become wealthy, the US dollar must become weaker. And it's already happening. Goldilocks has been showing it. But in preparation for the RV, this is where our members, we've educated them to be able to go to the banks, the private banks, wealth management firms, and prepare by literally having contracts, signed agreements for their currency exchanges to happen by professionals and to manage their wealth. These bankers know what's coming. They're a part of it. They're a part of the weakening of the dollar. They're a part of the strengthening of the currencies that we hold. They are the whales. The true whales are the wealth management firms. They are the institutional investors. They are the ones who transact Forex in the trillions daily. We have shown our members how to connect with them and prepare. Sniper, the floor is yours. If you can go right into the weekend of the dollar, folks, this is how the RV happens. This is not rumor. This is not what Goldilocks believes because of this, just what's been heard. Folks, this is actual data to back it up. The Trump administration put it in writing. Goldilocks just showed it to you. Here it is. You got the floor, young man.
Yes, sir. Weak dollar, strong gold. A tailwind for emerging market currencies. A falling U.S. dollar, typically accompanied by rising gold prices, creates a favorable environment for the emerging market currencies to appreciate.
One second, beloved. So, folks, you got to understand, what Iraq is an emerging market. Vietnam and the Dong, emerging market. So when you hear emerging market, and what Mike is reading, what Mike N is reading to you, Goldilocks is sharing, it's directly from the IMF, one of the four major agencies responsible for the RV. Emerging markets. So just so I know that many of you don't even realize that what you hold is an emerging market currency. So when you hear this term, know it pertains to the dinar, the dong, and other currencies. Go, young man.
Yep. This relationship is a well-established correlation rather than direct causation. Other forces such as global growth expectations, risk sentiment, and global and geopolitical development also play a major role. Mm-hmm. Not all emerging market economies benefit equally. Countries with high levels of dollar-denominated debt and large commodity export bases, such as oil, metals, agricultural goods, tend to see strongest currency gains when the dollar weakens and commodity prices rise.
See. This is from the IMF telling you how the RV will happen. It states, what Goldilocks is sharing, is not all emerging market economies benefit equally. Countries with high levels of dollar-denominated debt and large commodity export bases, for example, oil, metals, agriculture goods, tend to see the strongest currency gains when the dollar weakens. Remember what the Trump administration just said. Currency revaluation is likely to be priority of the second Trump administration, large in part to the overvalued dollar and the trade deficit. But weakening the dollar could have far-reaching consequences. So here we have one of the four major agencies responsible for the RV, the IMF, telling you how the RV is going to happen, just like the Trump administration said all along, just like Goldilocks has been saying how it's going to happen for the last 7 years. This is why. And I know many of you are still waiting on the fence to not establish relationships, but this is why you're behind. When many of the members that you've heard from, they're already set. You're going to hear from Mike in tonight how he invited to the professional basketball game by the folks that are going to exchange his currency. The bankers are going to exchange his currency and manage his wealth. I'm sorry. Hockey game, not basketball game, hockey game. You could have corrected me on that, sniper. Hockey game. That's even better. Hockey game.
I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, you're good. You're good. Appreciate it. But continue, young man. We'll get to your hockey game later that you went on with your people. Go ahead.
Yes. Vietnam qualifies as an emerging market that can benefit from the dynamics outlined in this article. A declining U.S. dollar often boosting gold prices and supporting emerging market currencies, particularly those with a dollar-denominated debt and commodity exports.
Mm-hmm. And Iraq?
Yep.
Yeah, you could read that. And Iraq exemplifies.
And Iraq exemplifies an emerging market that stands to gain significantly from a dynamics in this article. A declining U.S.
Pay attention, folks, what he just said. He just read to you that Vietnam qualifies as an emerging market that can benefit from the dynamics that he just shared by Goldilocks. Then Goldilocks states, and Iraq exemplifies an emerging market that stands to gain significantly from the dynamics in this article. Go ahead, young man. Weakening of the dollar or declining dollar?
Yep. A declining U.S. dollar, boosting gold prices and supporting emerging market currencies, especially those tied to the dollar-denominated debt and commodity exports. As an oil-dominant economy classified as an upper-middle-class emerging market by the IMF and World Bank, Iraq's currency could see enhanced stability and indirect appreciation pressures via higher oil revenues and reserve bolstering.
Now, folks, one second, beloved. Folks, you got to understand, I want to make sure that you understand and catch what he just read by Goldilocks. Because if you don't pay attention, if you don't see the language, you'll miss it. What Goldilocks is stating is, speaking of Iraq, as an oil-dominant economy, speaking of Iraq, because, folks, 90% of Iraq's revenue comes from the oil industry. So that is their bread and butter, is oil, exporting oil all throughout the world. In fact, the last numbers I saw was that Iraq sells 3 million barrels of oil per day. 3 million barrels per day. That's shipped throughout the world. That's 90% of their revenue. And folks, their revenue is connected to, of course, their GDP, which is directly connected to the value of the Iraqi dinar. Every country's GDP is connected to their currency, just like with Vietnam and the U.S. and every country. So Iraq's issue that the IMF has educated and mentored them on, that they had to change and diversify, was to diversify their economy to not solely depend on oil revenue. They had to diversify their revenue so that the dinar could get stronger. So what Goldilocks is stating here is, as an oil dominant economy classified as an upper middle income emerging market by the two of the four agencies responsible for the RV, the IMF and the World Bank, Iraq's currency, the Iraqi dinar, could see enhanced stability and indirect appreciation. Folks, in layman's terms, appreciation, think of appreciation as in the value or the rate of something. Your home, if it appreciates in value, it goes up. Your whatever asset you may have, if it appreciates in value, that means it goes up. So what Goldilocks is stating very clearly, with the support of the IMF and the World Bank, that if Iraq continues to do what they're telling them to do, it could enhance and increase, appreciate the value of the Iraqi dinar. And this is connected to the declining or the weakening of the US dollar. It all comes back to exactly what the Trump administration said. How the currency revaluation will occur is from the weakening of the US dollar. What did Trump, but you have to understand, what did Trump do in order to initiate the weakening of the dollar so that these currencies, which many of us hold, will have an indirect effect and their values begin to appreciate? Simple. Tariffs. The tariffs on all of these various countries that have these currencies, for which many of the currencies we hold, their direct effect of the weakening of the dollar is their currencies moving up, but also because of gold. There are various pieces to the puzzle that ultimately come together to the currency revaluation happening. Yes, for us to go to the banks. You're witnessing what those pieces of the puzzle are being put right into place. Goldilocks has been sharing it. Go ahead, young man. You can continue.
Okay, would you want me to finish this one up or move to the next?
Let's move in short.
Yep, in short, a softer dollar plus higher gold commodities equals supportive backdrop for select emerging market currencies.
For select emerging market currencies, folks, if you're really paying attention to this, you'll see how this is a very orchestrated, well-planned event. Now let's get into the CBI, the Central Bank of Iraq. And what we're going to share with you now from Goldilocks is directly from the Central Bank of Iraq, the CBI website. When the Central Bank of Iraq speaks, we pay attention and listen. Why? The Central Bank of Iraq is who controls the value of the Iraqi dinar. So, the Central Bank of Iraq just launched a training program for its staff. A very intense, that they call an intense training and workshop for their bank and for their banks and the Iraqi dinar. This is all in preparation, folks, for the dinar to go international. Goldilocks shares it in the next coming articles in here as well. Go ahead, young man. The floor is yours.
Yep. CBA launches Banking Fundamentals Training Program, Baghdad, November 30th, 2025. The Central Bank of Iraq's Center of Banking Studies has started a 3-week intensive training workshop titled Fundamentals of Banking Work, November 30th through December 21st of 2025. Target audience, employees from the government and the private banks across Iraq.
So this covers the public sector and the private sector. Employees from the government of Iraq and private banks throughout Iraq are going to be trained. This intense training and workshop, what does it cover? The topics covered. Young man, go ahead.
Yep. Key topics covered: bank accounts and daily operations, letters of credit and trade finance, compliance, governance, and anti-money laundering, risk management principles.
And what is the purpose?
To raise professional skills of Iraqi bankers, align practices with international standards, and strengthen overall banking performance to service quality.
To raise professional skills of Iraqi bankers, align practices with what? International standards. Folks, this is a part of the preparation for the dinar to go international. Go, young man. You can continue.
Yep. A bank fundamentals training program should cover the core functions of a bank, including products, services, and regulations, while also building essential skills like customer service, communication, and risk management. No components address digital economy training, such as fintech, digital payments, e-commerce regulation, blockchain, or AI in banking. While CBI pursues broader digital transformation goals, such as digital currency pilots and fintech licensing, this specific program remains centered on traditional compliance basics. The official CBI announcement: a license has been granted to operate as a private joint stock exchange company under a Category A under the name Atlas International Exchange Company.
Now, what Iraq is announcing here directly from the CBI is they have now given a license for exchange to an international exchange company named Atlas International Exchange, folks, in Iraq. Category A is, for those of you who may not be aware, and this is Goldilocks has shared over about a year and a half, 2 years ago, where the dinar, Iraq was going through training to reclassify the dinar from a Category C to a Category A currency. Category C is just think of grade school. Think of being in school, not just grade school. But you get an A, of course, it's the best grade you can get. You pass. B, you pass, but not as much, not as well. C is pass, but it's not that great. It's average. The dinar was classified as a C currency. The only way that a currency can become international, it has to be classified as an A currency. The Iraqi dinar is now classified as an A currency. And what Iraq just did is they've given a license to another exchange, an international exchange company within Iraq, with the dinar being classified internationally as Category A. See, folks, when you hear this, you understand that Iraq is securing their own banks. They're securing the banking system. They're securing the dinar within Iraq. Let me use the term, the language that many of you understand. What Iraq is doing is they're strengthening the dinar in country. Why? They must take care of home first. Wouldn't you? They must make sure that the dinar is strong within the country of Iraq before it goes international. That's what they're doing now. Now, what we're going to share with you about this Iraqi International Exchange Company. This is very important that Iraq is now given the license to this international exchange company for the dinar, in preparation for the dinar to go international. Go, young man. The floor is yours. And again, this is directly from the CBI, with Goldilocks sharing various supportive information from the CBI and the state of Iraq. the government of Iraq. Go, young man.
Yep. Atlas International Exchange Company, Iraq's new gateway to global finance.
Oh.
Baghdad, Iraq, December 1st of 2025, and a pivotal step toward modernizing Iraq's financial infrastructure. The Central Bank of Iraq has issued a Category A license to Atlas International Exchange Company, a private joint stock entity. This approval positions Atlas as a key player in the country's exchange sector, enabling it to handle high-volume foreign currency transactions and remittances.
This approval positions Atlas as a key player in Iraq's exchange sector, currency exchange sector, enabling it to handle meaning Atlas International Exchange, enabling them to handle high volume foreign currency exchange transactions. They're ramping up. They're training their government and private bank employees. Now they're giving a license to an international exchange company within Iraq, so that and training them to handle high volume foreign currency exchange transactions. Again, folks, this is what Goldilocks is sharing directly from the CBI. Go, young man.
Yes, sir. Category A status, the highest tier under CBI regulations, grants Atlas broad operational privileges, including international transfers and dealings in multiple currencies. The licensing framework.
They're opening them up. International. This allows them for international folks. In order for this company, which will be dealing with various currencies, and of course the root base currency will be the dinar. This company will be able to handle international transfers and international transactions. The dinar will be included. Go, young man.
Yep. This licensing framework, established to enhance oversight and stability, distinguishes Atlas from lower tier firms limited to domestic operations.
Mm-hmm.
The move addresses long-standing challenges in Iraq's banking system, where sanctions and geopolitical tensions have restricted access to global networks. Atlas is explicitly designed to bridge this gap by forging correspondent banking relationships worldwide. These partnerships allow seamless cross-border payments, trade settlements, and liquidity access through established international banks, bypassing traditional hurdles faced in Iraq's entities.
Mm-hmm. This is very important, folks. And this is why Goldilocks has this in italics. The move addresses long-standing challenges in Iraq's banking system, where sanctions and geopolitical tensions have restricted access to global networks. Meaning, folks, the dinar had restrictions on even being able to go international. Atlas is explicitly designed to bridge this gap, to remove these restrictions by forging correspondent banking relationships worldwide. These partnerships allow seamless cross-border payments, folks. Cross-border payments is just another term for foreign currency exchange. This will allow trade settlements and liquidity access, meaning unlimited money in the banking system to move with the dinar through established international banks, bypassing traditional hurdles faced by Iraq entities before. Go, young man.
Industry experts view this as a boom for the economic recovery. Mm-hmm. Atlas will facilitate smoother integration with SWIFT and other systems, mm-hmm. boosting the foreign investment and trade. And the CBI spokesperson, with Iraq's oil-driven economy eyeing diversification, the company aims to process billions in annual transactions, supports SMEs, and expert trade remittances. That word was tripping me up.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
As Atlas ramps up its operations, it underscores Iraqis' commitment to financial inclusion and amid post-conflict reforms.
So these are post-conflict reforms, folks, are the reforms that was implemented in Iraq, meaning post-conflict was after the Iraqi war. And SMEs is small, medium enterprises. So this is going to include small, medium enterprises or banks and institutions as well, where no one will be left, none of these institutions will be left behind in Iraq. These institutions, if they are properly licensed to handle the dinar, whether they're small, they're medium, large, doesn't matter, they will be allowed to transact the Iraqi dinar internationally. Transactions will be able to move throughout the world based on international standards, all because Iraq is doing what they're doing now, training the banks, their staff, training the government and their staff on these new guidelines, and making sure that Iraq is prepared. The International Monetary Fund has trained Iraq. Now Iraq is training their people. Now what we're going to share with you directly from, this is from the governor of the CBI. This is the head person in charge, ladies and gentlemen, who is responsible for the Iraqi dinar, the central bank governor. It is not anyone else but the central bank governor, who, just for example, for those of you who knew about the late governor, the previous, when I say late, he passed away, was Dr. Shabibi. He wrote the 75-page white paper economic reform plan, which is the RV plan of Iraq. He wrote it in 2012. This was the former central bank governor. All of the requirements that Iraq needed to meet that he wrote in order to revalue the dinar, Iraq has met all of those requirements. Now, by way of the World Trade Organization and Iraq's plan to become a full member of the World Trade Organization, they will take all of the requirements that they've met within the White Paper Economic Reform Plan and go international. Now the central bank governor is speaking openly and directly about their plans with the dinar. Go ahead, young man.
Yep. This is a significant statement from the Central Bank of Iraq, CBI Governor Ali Massan, on December 2nd of 2025. Here are the key takeaways and clear points. Positive developments, banking sector reforms in this banking reforms is the top priority. CBI view.
One second, beloved. Remember, folks, this is directly from the central bank governor. When you hear what Mike is sharing with you and reading, this is from the Central Bank of Iraq, their governor, who is responsible for the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar from within Iraq. He's responsible for the rate of the dinar. Go ahead, young man.
The CBI views comprehensive banking reforms as the foundation for economic stability. Oliver Wyman contract. The engagement with the global consulting firm Oliver Wyman was specifically triggered by the U.S. restrictions, dollar transaction ban on several Iraqi banks.
This is very important. Folks, you remember, Goldilocks has been sharing who the Oliver Wyman Company is. It's the international consulting firm that is the international consulting firm for the World Trade Organization. Folks, you all know, you probably know by now that Iraq needs to become a full member of the World Trade Organization to revalue the dinar. Once they become a member of the World Trade Organization, the dinar, that's an international organization. The dinar will take off. They're finalizing all of their agreements with the World Trade Organization right now. So the central bank governor is speaking about the contract with the consulting firm, stating the engagement, this is from the CBI's governor, the engagement with the consulting firm Oliver Wyman was specifically triggered by the U.S. and its restrictions on the dollar. So the United States is the one that told the consulting firm Oliver Wyman for the World Trade Organization. Remember, for those who don't know, Oliver Wyman is not a person, not an individual. It's an international firm that is actually the international consulting firm for over 120 some odd countries that are members of the World Trade Organization. They are training Iraq on how to revalue the dinar, what they need to do, the guidelines, reforms, everything. And he's the central bank governor stating it was the United States that triggered the contract with Oliver Wyman firm. So you see how, again, here we come back to President Trump, who's actually pushing this. Good, young man.
The goal is a deep structural reform to meet international compliance standards, especially anti-money laundering and counterterrorism financing rules.
Mm-hmm.
Pathway back for restricted banks. Governor Al-Alaq gave the clearest public assurance, yet that banks currently banned from the dollar transactions will be allowed to resume normal operations once they complete the agreed reform stages. All Iraqi banks have signed the reform agreements.
So here we have where all the banks in Iraq have universally, folks, agreed, signed the agreements. They're on board for the dinar. Go ahead, young man.
Universal buy-in from the banking sector. Phased re-entry into foreign currency dealings.
Phased. Hold on one second. Do not read past this. Phased re-entry into foreign currency dealing. The governor of the central bank is speaking about a phased re-entry of the Iraqi dinar into foreign currency dealing. Folks, this is in black and white. This is directly from the CBI. All Iraqi banks phased re-entry into foreign currency dealing. Phased meaning for those that, just so that you're aware, phased meaning like it's going to be in stages for re-entry of the dinar. This is speaking specifically in country where this must and will and is happening so that the dinar will be able to move out of country internationally. The central bank governor stating a phased re-entry of the Iraqi dinar into foreign currency dealing. Folks, you can't go to the bank right now and exchange the dinar. It's not recognized. But what the central bank governor is stating is that there will be a phased re-entry of the dinar into foreign currency dealing. It will begin in country first. And as Iraq is finalizing the agreements with the World Trade Organization, and hopefully they are accepted, that's going to make a world difference for the dinar and its rate internationally. Good, young man.
Yep. Phased re-entry into foreign currency dealings. Compliant banks will gradually regain the right to conduct transactions in dollar and other foreign currencies.
Mm-hmm.
Close international oversight. The process is being actively monitored by the international institutions, implicitly the U.S. Federal Reserve and the Treasury.
So here we have 4 major agencies that are responsible for the RV, folks. The IMF, the Bank of International Settlements, World Bank, and the U.S. Treasury. Here we have the central bank governor telling you that this process is being actively monitored by international institutions, implicitly the U.S. Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury. For those that may not be aware of the U.S. Treasury, why is the U.S. Treasury so important in all of this? the U.S. Treasury is connected to every country and every currency around the world. So therefore, they're connected to every currency. The U.S. Treasury. I won't get into too much technical, but the U.S. Treasury is also very heavily involved with what are called special drawing rights, SDRs, which is connected to every country around the world and their currency. It's connected to every currency around the world. Go, young man. You can continue.
Yep. Digital transformation. The digital dinar, a CBDC project, is officially confirmed as underway, but will take considerable time and infrastructure built up before launch.
Now, this is very, very important. What he's about to read to you folks that Goldilocks is sharing. It's titled "Exchange Rate and Monetary Policy." Exchange rate of the dinar and its monetary policy. Exchange rate of the dinar and its monetary policy. You want to pay attention to what the CBI governor is saying to you folks about exchange rate of the dinar and monetary policy? Very important. Go, young man.
Straight from the horse's mouth here.
Right.
Exchange rate and monetary policy. It equals strong reaffirmation that the CBI will not devalue the Iraqi dinar.
The CBI will not. This is a directive from the governor saying that the CBI will not devalue the Iraqi dinar. Let's pause for a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Back in 2017, when President Trump was in office, the reporter asked him, Mr. Trump, what are you going to do about these countries devaluing their currencies? He said, we will level the playing field. The tariffs that he imposed on these countries, folks, began the process of leveling the playing field. Weakening of the dollar so that these other countries' currencies can be used. They can use their own currencies like the dinar, the dong, these other countries utilizing their own countries' currencies. Begin to make their currencies become stronger and their rates become stronger and move up in value. The CBI, the governor, is stating we will not devalue the Iraqi dinar. Folks, they've been devaluing the dinar for years. The central bank of Vietnam, same thing with the dong. They've been devaluing it for years. So now, here you have the central bank governor stating in writing, we will not devalue. He's stating the CBI, the Central Bank of Iraq, will not devalue the Iraqi dinar. So if the Central Bank of Iraq has the power to not devalue the dinar, don't they have the power to revalue the dinar? This is where we've been telling you it's the CBI that controls this. So he's stating, this is directly from the governor, stating we will not devalue. The CBI will not devalue the dinar. Because he knows in order for Iraq to survive in the new banking system, they're going to have to revalue the Iraqi dinar. It will come from connecting the dinar into the international banking systems, which they're in the process of doing now, so that the rate can be determined in the open market of supply and demand, but with the central bank that will come out with a rate. He's stating, we, the Central Bank of Iraq, we will not devalue the dinar. Basically saying we're not going to devalue the dinar anymore. We're going to stop. We're going to turn this ship around from devaluing the dinar to putting it into place to revalue the dinar. This is, folks, this is why I said to you in the very beginning of the call, just understand and know this is your blessing. You've been born for this. This is your blessing. You own it. But you must begin to conduct yourself as if you own it and not that you are loaning it to anyone else to tell you what to do, to tell you what to believe. You have it within you. Now, I'm not going to say that everyone is wrong and we are right. I don't have to. The CBI governor is telling you. The Trump administration is telling you. You can choose to believe them if you want or not. You can choose to believe all of the results of many of our members who have been following exactly what we've been telling them. And they have contracts signed, many of them. We have some going to hockey games with their firms. Folks, you are all children, childs of the almighty living God. But I think that many of you have forgotten who you are. You forgot your greatness. You have allowed yourselves to have your minds and your hearts and your emotions to be rented to someone else. And I know many of you are okay with that. I'm okay with that too, if that's your choice. But I just want to remind you how special each and every one of you are. You have forgotten. You forgot the power within you. You forgot that you have greatness deep down inside. You forgot you have discernment deep down inside. Here you have the central bank governor stating in writing that they will not devalue the Iraqi dinar. This is a plan. He is telling you their plan to not devalue the dinar. Folks, it's because their plan is to revalue the dinar. Several months ago, the Central Bank of Iraq, on a call with Goldilocks, D, myself, we listened to what their plans were for the dinar. Several months ago, the CBI spoke to Goldilocks directly, along with D and myself, and shared their absolute plan. A while ago, the Central Bank of Iraq made it very clear to Goldilocks that they're going to revalue the dinar, along with D on that call. The CBI directly. Here you have the CBI governor saying we will not devalue the dinar. Folks, that's because they absolutely have a plan to revalue the dinar. Every country, folks, around the world, in order for them to survive in the new banking system, they're going to have to allow their currencies to move up in rate to the real values. I shouldn't say they have to move up in rate. They have to move to the real values, which majority of them are higher because countries have been devaluing their currencies historically. That is why the reporter asked President Trump in 2017, what are you going to do about it, President Trump, with these countries devaluing their currencies? Here you have the central bank governor saying, we're not going to devalue our currency no more. The pressure heated on the CBI by the Trump administration and every country around the world to stop devaluing their currencies. President Trump enforced that his will and his power with tariffs. If these countries continue to devalue their currency, especially after tariffs, their countries will go into bankruptcy. Their countries will go belly up. They'll bankrupt themselves. They're not going to do that. In order to thrive and survive in the new banking system, these countries will allow their currencies to move up in their real values. They will no longer continue to devalue their currencies, or they're going to fail. They have to allow the currencies to move up in rate in order to make money for their country. That is where we all benefit from being able to go to the banks, because these countries will allow the currency to move up to their real values. Boom, that's your revaluation of currencies. The Trump administration told you Currency revaluation is likely to be priority of the second Trump administration, due in part to the overvalued dollar and the trade deficit. Goldilocks has been saying for the last 7 years, we showed you almost 4,000 times Goldilocks put in writing the revaluation will happen from trade on the water. This is why Goldilocks has always said, watch the water. The CBI governor is telling you they will not devalue the dinar. Keeping the official exchange rate. Go ahead, young man.
Yep. Keeping the official exchange rate stable is presented as a major policy success that has kept inflation low and protected low-income citizens. Explicit rejection of this devaluation as a quick fix for our budget deficit.
This is key. This is key. The central bank governor is saying explicit rejection of using devaluation as a quick fix for budget deficits. So, folks, this is why Iraq and many of the other countries around the world, in order to fix the patch the holes in their budgets, they would devalue their currencies. Central Bank of Iraq is saying we will not do that again. They're going to revalue the dinar. Go, young man. Instead,
the CBI calls for genuine structural reforms, increasing non-oil revenues, cutting wasteful spending, diversifying the economy, and activating untapped economic opportunity.
folks, the central bank governor is telling you how they're going to strengthen the value of their Iraqi dinar. Instead of devaluing the dinar, they're going to implement structural reforms, increasing non-oil revenues. This is diversifying their economy, cutting wasteful spending, diversifying the economy, and activating untapped economic opportunities. All of this combined increases the value of the Iraqi dinar. He's saying without saying it. Bottom line.
This is one of the most explicit and reassuring statements the CBI has made in recent years about, number one, ending the dollar ban of crisis or affected banks, conditional on real reforms. Number two, ruling out near-term dinar devaluation. Number three, committing to international standard banking reforms under Oliver Wyman's roadmap. They are ready to grow. For investors, businesses, and ordinary Iraqis, the message is painful. Reforms are happening. But stability of the dinar and eventful full and reintegration of the banking sector into the global system are the end goals.
Folks, this is a quote. Quote, painful reforms are happening, but stability of the dinar and an eventual full reintegration of the banking sector into the global system are the end goals. End quote. Folks, this is a quote from the central bank. Quote, listen to this. Painful reform, meaning the reforms that Iraqis had to go through. Painful reforms are happening, he is stating, but stability of the dinar and eventual full reintegration of the dinar and the banking sector into the global system are the end goals. End quote. Folks, the reintegration of the dinar to the global banking system is the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. That's from the CBI governor. A quote in writing. Doesn't get any more better than that. Go, young man. Now I'll read this. In the above articles, Iraq is telling us they have a foundation to grow upon. Now they begin the process of growing their bank from the ground up. They're not going to devalue their currency. The central bank governor is saying they're preparing for the dinar to be integrated into the global banking system. Folks, that language, reintegration into the global banking system, is just another way of saying the revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. Because the dinar has to be reintegrated into the global banking system. Why the reintegration? Because at one time, folks, before 2003, the invasion, the dinar was in the international banking system. Then it was taken off. Now the central bank governor is stating their end goal is to reintegrate the dinar into the global banking system. That's just another way of saying to revalue the Iraqi dinar. I'll continue. Perhaps this is why Goldilocks is stating this. Perhaps this is why they went through the training process of their staff on the structural process of banking protocols the other day. Now we're going to get into more of a global. So this is going to cover all the other currencies that many of you hold that Goldilocks is sharing on stablecoins. Folks, remember, it is stablecoins that will back and provide the stability, hence the word stable coins, provide stability for the dinar, for the dong, for the US dollar, for heavy currency. It's all connected. Everything is connected to everything, folks. Go, young man. Stable coins.
Stablecoin surge. U.S. regulations ignite crypto boom and ripple effects on global currencies.
On global currencies, all the currencies we hold, folks. Go ahead.
Washington, D.C., December 2nd. The ink is barely dry on the Genius Act, the landmark U.S. legislation signed into law by President Trump in July, establishing the nation's first federal framework for stablecoins.
And folks listening, this is from the White House. This is a statement directly from the Trump administration. This is why you must pay attention to everything. And I hope that many of you understood, again, when I read to you the Trump administration's plan for the RV, this is why you must pay attention to everything, because it's all connected. Go, young man.
Yep. With regulations now live and proposals rolling out from the FDIC and the Federal Reserve, experts are buzzing about seismic shift in the digital asset landscape. Forecasts point to a 20 to 30% surge in the U.S. venture funding for digital assets by mid-2026, drawing capital and talent back home while pumping vitality into the $2 trillion global crypto market.
Mm-hmm. Now, folks, the Genius Act, this is referring to, remember, this is the digital asset regulations. It is digital assets that will back our paper assets, paper currencies that enable the RV. We're moving into a new digital banking system. When President Trump came into office, his first day in office, he formed a digital asset committee, and he demanded to have digital asset regulations passed through Congress. This is in January the 20th, inauguration. The Genius Act is a part of the digital asset regulations, the Genius Act and the Crypto Clarity Act. Remember, the Trump administration, the second Trump administration, currency revaluation is their priority. Folks, this is a part of it. Digital asset regulations, the Genius Act. So when you're hearing this, know that this is connected to currency revaluation. The Trump administration has told you this. Go, young man.
Yep. The Genius Act mandates strict reserve requirements. Dollar for dollar backing the U.S. Treasuries, banking deposits, or similar safe assets for issuers like banks and qualified non-banks. It also carves stablecoins out from security laws, fostering innovation while enforcing anti-money laundering protocols. This clarity is a game changer, says fintech analyst Maria Gonzalez of EY Parathon. It repatriates jobs from offshore hubs, bolstering U.S. leadership in blockchain tech and creating thousands of roles in compliance, development, and trading. Venture capital firms echo the optimism. PitchBook data shows early signs of rebound, with AI crypto crossovers already snagging mega rounds in Q3 2025. By mid-2026, projects like KPMG and Accord Tech anticipate funding to climb as deregulation under the Doge initiative lowers barriers for startups. This influx could swell the crypto market, enhancing liquidity for Bitcoin and Ethereum while stabilizing DeFi platforms reliant on stable coins like USDC and USDT.
All these folks are going to back our currencies in the new banking system for the RV, and all the global currencies are directly affected. And Goldilocks shares in this next sentence how they are all, this is all connected to the currency revaluation. Go, young man.
Yep. But will this turbocharge affect global currency prices? Absolutely. Through indirectly.
Mm-hmm.
A
This will turbocharge the global currency prices, folks. Go, young man.
A booming U.S. crypto sector could draw foreign investment into dollar-denominated assets, strengthening the USD against euros, yen, and emerging market currencies. Increased stable coin adoption might accelerate cross-border payments, trimming remittances costs, and pressuring high inflation fiat like Turkish lira and the Argentine peso. Conversely, if the capital flight from riskier economies intensifies, it could widen forex volatility. Think 5 to 10% USD appreciation in 6 months, per Bloomberg models. Critics warn of risk. Unchecked growth might inflate asset bubbles, indirectly hiking U.S. interest rates and cooling global trade. Yet the EU's MiCA rules align closely, coordinating regulations could mitigate shocks, ensuring smoother ride for forex traders. As 2026 looms, the stablecoin revaluation isn't just reshaping crypto, it's recalibrating the world's monetary map.
It's totally reshaping and recalibrating even our paper currencies in preparation for the RV. Now, what we're going to share with you last but not least from Goldilocks is how all the global currencies are affected by and connected to a bridge. And it's actually called mBridge. Goldilocks shared this project about a year and a half ago, where Project mBridge, which is from the Bank of International Settlements. Remember, there are 4 agencies responsible for the RV: Bank of International Settlements, World Bank, U.S. Treasury, and IMF. The Bank of International Settlements actually tested all banking systems around the world for the new banking system for the revaluation of all currencies. It's called Project mBridge. They tested the system in trillions in foreign currency transactions in preparation. Go, young man. And it's already done, but this is your final piece. Go ahead.
Yep. mBridge, bridging currencies towards equilibrium. Project mBridge, a blockchain-based platform for multi-central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, promises to transform cross-border payments by enabling real-time peer-to-peer settlements among participating nations like China, Hong Kong, Thailand, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia. Launched by the Bank of International Settlements and now managed independently, mBridge uses the custom mBridge ledger to facilitate instant foreign exchange, FX, and trade transactions directly in native CBDCs by bypassing intermediaries like SWIFT and reducing costs up to 50% in pilot tests.
Immediate foreign currency exchange transactions settle instantly. This is where I shared with you that, and Goldilocks emphasizes heavily, is how currency exchanges, folks, will be instant. When you exchange your currencies, the settlement is called instant settlement. The transactions will be settled instantly. There will not be 5-7 day delays in your accounts being updated. It will be updated immediately. This is all because of the new technology. And Enbridge tested the system throughout the world, the international banking system, all the banks throughout the world. Go, young man.
This innovation could level the playing field for global currencies by diminishing the U.S. dollar dominance in trade finance, where it currently handles 88% of FX transactions. By allowing direct currency swaps, such as the CNY or the ETHB without USD conversion, Enbridge shifts demand toward the underrepresented currencies, easing imbalances and trade flow.
And trade flows. The unrepresented currencies. Enbridge shifts demand towards underrepresented currencies, easing imbalances in trade flows. Folks, the DINAR, unrepresented currency. Dong, Boulevard, unrepresented currencies. Enbridge shifts the demand towards underrepresented currencies. Many of the currencies that we hold, especially those from the emerging market, are underrepresented currencies. What is an underrepresented currency? Folks, it's a currency that is not fully utilized within the global banking system. The US dollar is not an underrepresented currency. It's a fully represented currency in the global banking system. So the demand is shifting towards underrepresented currencies, meaning those currencies that haven't been used heavily in the global markets. The dinar, the dong, and other currencies will. Why? Well, many of the countries around the world know those currencies, and just like other currencies, will move up in value and in rate. Their demands will go up. They will no longer be underrepresented. Go, young man.
Yep. For instance, Asian exporters could settle oil imports from the UAE in local digital currencies, curbing USD hoarding and stabilizing exchange rates through efficient liquidity pools.
Mm-hmm.
Economically, this fosters equilibrium. Heightened demand for the emerging market CBDCs appreciates their values, narrowing volatility gaps and reserve currencies. The IMF analysis suggests such platforms could cut settlement risk, promoting balanced trade and interest rate parity. However, geopolitical hurdles loom. Western sanctions fear may limit expansion, potentially fragmenting global finance into rival blocks rather than an unified field. Enbridge isn't a remedy; it's transactions to commercialize in 2026. It signals a multipolar currency era where trade dynamics self-correct toward fair exchange rates. Watch the water.
Enbridge isn't a remedy. It transitions to commercialization in 2026. It signals a multipolar currency era where trade dynamics self-correct toward fairer currency exchange rates. Folks, would you like to have fairer currency exchange rates? the currency exchange rates right now are not fair. The dinar rate is not fair for in country or out of country. The dong, the rate, not fair. Boulevard, not fair. Enbridge isn't a remedy. However, it transitions to commercialization in 2026. Goldilocks is stating it signals a multipolar currency era where trade dynamics self-correct toward fair currency exchange rates. Right from the Bank of International Settlements. Folks, this is giving you directly from the Bank of International Settlements what's going to happen with foreign currency exchange. Directly from the Central Bank of Iraq, the governor, telling you they will not devalue the dinar because they will revalue the Iraqi dinar. You're getting it from the horse's mouth, directly from the sources. You also got directly from the Trump administration. Currency revaluation is likely to be priority of the second Trump administration, large in part to the overvalued dollar. and the trade deficit. Then we have here, Enbridge isn't a remedy. It transitions to commercialization in 2026. It signals a multipolar currency era where trade dynamics self-correct toward a fairer currency exchange rates. Self-correct. Well, if something's going to self-correct, that means that something is incorrect. The rates on these currencies are incorrect. They're not fair. The new digital banking system, which Enbridge has bridged the gap between the old system and the new system, itself corrects the exchange rates through supply and demand in trade. Now, Sniper, folks, I want you all to pay attention to this young man. I want him to update us on several weeks ago he went to he was invited to, if you can share us the firm, one of your folks. This young man communicates with his firms, his wealth management firms, on a consistent basis. Email, text, phone calls, in person, and now hockey games. If you can, how did this happen? How did this happen? Did they send you an email, call you? How did this happen to where you got invited by your international private firm? Was it, I don't know which one. You have a couple. Don't name it, but they invited you. Go ahead.
I'll tell you exactly how it happened. First off, I want to tell you thank you guys, because a lot of the information that you guys have been sharing is very relevant to what's going on. Especially even where Wiley's sharing how to, these structures and things to be able to do with your wealth managers. I actually sent some information to my wealth manager. She responded. She was actually looking to go ahead and get a few things moving and started to prepare for what I was doing based off of my text message to her. Now, because I'm not ready with funds available, I told her I'm not just yet. But she threw out an invitation because of my response of just communicating with her, asking questions. She threw out an invitation for me and my wife to join her at the Hawks game with my private banker. Now, she's already set me up with that private banker. I'm considered a private client with them. So they set this all up, sent me the tickets. They paid for my parking. I walked right in the front door, went straight up to the skybox that they got in this arena. Me and my wife go there, and we're sitting there with five bankers there. My private banker, she is the directing manager for the wealth management side. That's my wealth manager, and then she's got the rest of their team, because they're all in town for an economic outlook meeting that was happening the very next day. So I'm there with these private bankers and their clients. So my private banker and my wealth manager only came down there to see me. They had no other client there. They specifically showed up just for me and my wife.
Wow.
They laid out a spread too. I mean, here, food, whatever you wanted to eat, if you wanted to drink, if you wanted whatever you wanted. They had the dessert cart come by. My wife, got a few things for the kids. But we were able to sit down in person in a comfortable setting and really kind of just talk and build that relationship in person, where it's not us texting or emailing or calling. It was more of us being able to sit down in a comfortable environment and learn each other. Obviously they had a good chance to learn who my wife was, and they really did take a liking to her.
I'm sure.
I got a chance to meet a few of the private bankers that were there, and I already knew that there was one of them that was going to want to see exactly who I was, and I didn't do anything but just pull a page out of Ty's book. What do? Is you ask them a question and let them talk, because they're happy to talk about it. I learned about a few of them how they got in the business, what they see with the economic outlook and how AI is changing the markets, because that's what their conversation was about what their economic outlook was about. It's about how AI is going to be introduced in these markets and how it's what they're looking for moving forward.
That's exactly what Goldilocks has been sharing for the last several months, the importance of AI as it relates to currency rates as well, and how AI. In fact, last Saturday we touched on an article that Goldilocks shared about how AI, folks, is embedded into the new banking. It's the digital banking system. It's going to be a part of creating the rates on the demands on the water.
Yep. I got a chance to speak to a couple of them that, where I asked them what do they see coming, especially with some of these tariffs that are going to start in 26.
Right.
One of them told me they have a lumber distributor. They called them to see what they were going to do in their market. He says, look, all I'm going to do is switch all of mine from buying lumber overseas, and I'm going to start using U.S. It's just, again, picking their brain based off of what they do on a regular basis.
Right.
And they really did open the door when they had an economic outlook for me.
So you're able to see that economic outlook that gives you an idea of what's coming.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Again, these banks they're preparing. Like they're not. Some are taking training courses. I got a wealth manager sending me training courses. These guys are doing the in-person thing. And in that game, I was able to meet some of the millionaires that were there because their clients that were there were millionaires. They're not anybody that was just looking to do something. I was the oddball there, but who I met and who I came with put me in a position where everybody wanted to know who I was. And it's a comfortable setting. Nobody's judging you. They just want to meet you because they're here to essentially work for you.
Right.
And I mean, here it was a fantastic time.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, 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 and it was good. And I like what you said because they were just there. You're no different than anyone else that was there. To them, you are at the table, so you're a part of. You're a part of the family. You're a part of the network. You're equal to them. I'm talking about these other millionaires and these other bankers.
Yes, sir. Yeah, they all came in there, and I mean, here I was at the table with again my wife, my private banker, and my wealth manager, so she can get comfortable in this process of being able to meet them because we're not far from this getting ready to start moving forward, and I need her to be able to feel just as comfortable about dealing with them as I am.
Right. That's beautiful, man. I love the fact that your wife was able to come. You were able to come along. I mean, I love the fact that they invited you, and she was available to come along with you, because you're partners. You're a team. You and the wife are, you know. And I'm glad she was able to grab some stuff for the kids, some food.
I was like, wait a minute, hold on, don't grab everybody. So no, they was like, no, get your kids something so you can take it with you. So okay, it works.
But it's beautiful because it's really truly a family affair. Because speaking of your kids, they're your legacy. They're gonna when you and your wife, when God calls you home, this is going to be left for them.
Yes,
and
sir.
so it's beautiful that you and your wife were able to go and meet these folks and get a added comfort level with her, because when things begin to move, when it's go time, then those relationships are already there. The seeds of relationships are already planted, and so it's a beautiful thing, man. I'm happy for you and your family, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, indeed. All right, beautiful folks. We're going to wrap this up. I hope that each and every one of you, if you are listening to this on YouTube, click the link at the top of the description. You can join the Goldilocks QFS Dialogues room. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to the Goldilocks Global Banking News. Don't miss your chance, your opportunity to be just like Mike and the other members who have relationships already in place, contracts signed, relationships established, to be able to take advantage of this blessing. Remember, this is your blessing, folks. This is what God has really brought you on this earth to be a part of. Just don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy to make the steps necessary to prepare yourself like Mike and his family has done. Everyone have a good night. We love you. We appreciate you. Everyone be well. Take care. Ciao.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RV GCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RV GCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.